This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Donald Trump believes he is beyond the reach of oversight, that he is too powerful as president of the United States to operate within the three branch system that we have of checks and balances, where one branch has a certain power, but the other branch has a check over that power, an oversight check, or some other check, whether it be the judiciary over the laws that are made in Congress, or the president with his veto power over legislation that is created in Congress, or Congress's oversight over the executive branch, and by virtue of that, the president of the United States. Well, there's a story out today from the Associated Press that Donald Trump is now disallowing members of the CDC and the coronavirus task force from testifying before Congress. I'm going to read from the AP story, which, by the way, the AP is right down the middle. They don't have a liberal slant. They're not MSNBC. They're not the New York Times. They are right down the middle. Washington, a White House memo to congressional committees says no member of the administration's coronavirus task force can agree to testify on Capitol Hill unless the invitation is expressly approved by the president's chief of staff. Democrats bristled at the rule as a crimp on their ability to gather detailed information about the nation's response to the pandemic. The memo follows a recent White House move to block Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, from testifying before a House panel while allowing him to appear the following week at a Senate hearing. The Senate is held by Trump's Republican allies, while the House is controlled by Democrats. So, this is a memo that was obtained by the Associated Press, but you don't have to take the AP's word for it, because when asked about this very thing yesterday on the White House lawn, this is Trump's reaction to Fauci testifying before the House.
Because the House is a setup. The House is a bunch of Trump haters. They put every Trump hater on the committee, the same old stuff. They frankly want our situation to be unsuccessful, which means death. And our situation is going to be very successful. The House has put on a committee, an oversight committee of Maxine Waters and Maloney and the same people. And it's just a setup. But Dr. Fauci will be testifying in front of the Senate, and he looks forward to doing that. But the House, I will tell you, the House, they should be ashamed of themselves. And frankly, the Democrats should be ashamed, because they don't want us to succeed. They want us to fail so they can win an election, which they're not going to win. But they want us to, think of it, they do everything they can to make things as bad as possible.
So no, because the House is a bunch of Trump haters. Listen, Donald Trump doesn't have the option to just say no to every single request. This doesn't have to do with national security, where the safety and security of troops in the field are at stake. This is about oversight to a body that gives the money. The only body that gives the money is the House of Representatives. Any bill that has to do with appropriating cash starts in the House. So they have an absolute authority and right under the Constitution to provide oversight in these matters. George Mason at the Constitutional Convention in 1787 said, Congress are not only legislators, but they possess inquisitorial powers. They must meet frequently to inspect the conduct of the public offices. 1787, George Mason said that. But Donald Trump thinks that his powers that he believes are absolute, because he has an Article 2 that says he can do whatever he wants. The Article 2 of the Constitution does not say the president has the ultimate authority to do whatever he wants in any way. The Supreme Court has repeatedly held that Congress has oversight over the executive branch. Congress even has oversight over the judicial branch with the power to organize the courts. If Congress wanted to make the Supreme Court a 35-seat court, they could do so. That is their power, their check over the judiciary. I believe that if Donald Trump is going to refuse to allow, when a request is sent, that they need to subpoena Fauci. They need to issue a legal subpoena to compel his testimony. And then it will be up to him whether to refuse the subpoena under penalty of law, because it would be his personal choice, or not. This is the kind of information, though, that Donald Trump is refusing to allow Congress to have access to, unfettered access to, without the spectacle and pomp and circumstance of Donald Trump's meandering press conferences and lies and misinformation and propaganda and campaigning. Dr. Anthony Fauci was in the Oval Office the other day and was asked questions about this new drug, and this is the kind of information that was critical that Congress would be able to ask questions about. Watch this.
Okay, so a trial that the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which is the institute I direct, sponsored, called the Adaptive Covirus Disease Treatment Trial, or ACCT-1, was started in February 21st of this year, and it was a randomized placebo-controlled trial comparing the Gilead drug remdesivir with a placebo. It was highly powered with about 1,090 plus individuals. So it is the first truly high-powered randomized placebo-controlled trial. It was an international trial involving multiple sites, not only in the United States, but in various countries throughout the world, including Germany, Denmark, Spain, Greece, the UK, etc. The primary endpoint was the time to recovery, namely the ability to be discharged. When you have a study like this, we have a data and safety monitoring board which looks at the data. And they are independent, so there's no prejudice on the part of the investigators because they're doing the trial or the drug is from a certain company. The Data and Safety Monitoring Board on Monday afternoon contacted me on April 27th, first on Friday the week before, and then again on April 27th, and notified the study team, namely the multiple investigators who are doing the study throughout the world, that the data shows that remdesivir has a clear-cut, significant, positive effect in diminishing the time to recovery. This is really quite important for a number of reasons, and I'll give you the data. It's highly significant. If you look at the time to recovery being shorter in the remdesivir arm, it was 11 days compared to 15 days. And that's a p-value for the scientists who are listening of 0.001. So that's something that, although a 31% improvement doesn't seem like a knockout 100%, it is a very important proof of concept. Because what it is proven is that a drug can block this virus.
Before I get into this, look at the very big first 5 seconds of that video. Look at Donald Trump. Look at him pouting because he doesn't have the spotlight. Look at him with his arms folded like a grumpy little toddler because he's not the center of attention at that very moment. This is what we have as President of the United States. Donald Trump is as useless as a condom filled with those murder hornets, which, by the way, if you haven't seen them, are terrifying. But let's get back to this with Anthony Fauci. The amount of information, the expertise that Anthony Fauci has is critical for Congress to ask questions about, not just as a review of how the money that they've appropriated has been spent, not just a review of the organizations and the organizations, how it is organized, but also for future appropriation, to find weaknesses and strengths and determine what those are so money can be appropriated wisely and appropriately to further fund that organization. The Senate cannot appropriate money. So what are they going to find out? It's good because there will be Democrats there at a Senate hearing to ask questions. But keep in mind, the Senate, the Republicans in the Senate, save Mitt Romney, is the body that completely let Donald Trump off the hook for his many, many, many crimes against this nation during the impeachment trial. Republicans in the House and the Senate, they are responsible for allowing Donald Trump to run roughshod over this nation and our norms. This also leads to an interview in the Washington or the New York Post this last week. I think it was published yesterday, that really shines a light on how Donald Trump believes he should govern. What is his right to govern? And he believes it is transactional. This past couple weeks, there's been kind of a tit for tat, little back and forth between Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York and the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, where Mitch McConnell has said as much that we shouldn't bail out these Democrat states. We should let them go bankrupt, which is absurd. Cuomo called McConnell's suggestion that states declare bankruptcy the most un-American, most uncharitable, ugly statement of all time, and noted that New York puts more money in the federal pot than it gets back, unlike McConnell's home state of Kentucky. By the way, that imbalance is about it's over $1/10 trillion over a 5-year period. That Kentucky, which is a relatively poor state, doesn't put in as much in federal taxes than it receives. Part of that is because of the poor areas of the state. But the other part is because Mitch McConnell is the majority leader who steers federal funds its way. So I'm going to read some quotes from this article. And they are remarkable because it really points to the transactional nature that Donald Trump believes his role as president is. He doesn't believe he's governing for the people. He's not a leader of all of us. He's a leader for MAGA country. Donald Trump. We give a lot to New York, including great defense to the whole country, he said. So much more could be done for New York, but the leadership is so hostile in the form of your 2 senators. He added, you want to work for people. You want to work together with everyone. And then you have these people, hostile as can be, always nasty. Then they come in and want things. It's not like a working environment that you want to be involved with. I never had a phone call from Schumer or Kirsten. Chuck Schumer or Kirsten Gillibrand, the 2 senators from New York. So he's looking for fawning praise. Lots of thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you for all you've done for us. That's what he's looking for before he will, even in the first paragraph, the first statement, provide defense for. The Constitution of the United States is pretty clear in the very first paragraph, the preamble of our Constitution, that we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do, ordain, and establish this Constitution of the United States. Right there in the goddamn preamble. Provide for the common defense. Article 2, Section 2 of the United States Constitution gives Donald Trump the power as Commander-in-Chief of the United States Armed Forces in totality. Now, Congress has the power to declare war. Again, another check and balance. But Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief. He is. He's the commander-in-chief to provide for the common defense. Not if they give him nice phone calls. I'm not going to defend California because Gavin Newsom's not nice to me. I'm not going to provide for the common defense of the state of New York because Andrew Cuomo, he doesn't say the best things about me. He's a whining, sniveling brat. Donald Trump is unfit. I've had worse leaders. The worst leaders that I served under in the United States Marine Corps are 100-fold better than Donald Trump. Disgusting, an unmitigated disaster. How can he give an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States when he has zero idea of what is even entailed in it? I would love to see him quote the preamble. You know, I've got these educational tools that were a gift to me by my best friend years ago, 20 years ago. They're from 1942. The Constitution is an important document. It lays out our foundational principles. Now, look, many of those foundational principles were guided by bigotry and hatred. They allowed for the enslavement of human beings. They didn't give women full citizenship, full rights. They were racist, sexist. They set up a patriarchal system. But we're getting past that because of the ability to amend the Constitution. It is an important document that needs to be shown some reverence, at the very least some understanding of. But that's not what we got with Donald Trump. We've got a moron for President of the United States who only wants to rule over the morons in the country. If you're educated, if you have skills, if you have criticism for him even, he doesn't want to rule for you. He doesn't want to govern for you. He doesn't want to lead the nation out of our current situation for you. Only if you're wearing a MAGA hat. Anyway, that is it for today. I appreciate you guys. I'd love to hear from you. You can call me, email me daily at Dollemore.com. I'd love to I'm trying to do a once a week mailbag episode where I give you guys the opportunity to have a little bit of an amplification for your views or your questions, your comments. And I'd love to hear from you. So please do that. Also, I would love for you to consider, if you're in a financial position to do so, to help support independent media just like this through right here on YouTube. You can click the little button there. It says join. Become a channel member is what they're calling it for fewer than $2 a month. There's several tiers, but for fewer than $2 a month, you can help support independent voices like mine. You know, there are other ways that you can support my channel though. If you got a friend who you think would benefit or would find value in the things that I say and what I do here, share my video. Like the video. Tell a friend, tell a relative. We're all in this together. And, information like this needs to be out there. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Be genuine and take care of one another.